Every forest in Transylvania is haunted, so stated our local guide. In fact, when we told the owner of our pension of our plan to camp out one night in Hoia Baciu, considered by many to be the most haunted forest in the world, he asked, "Why?" Welcome to Trailing Monsters. The name Hoia Baciu, the forest located in Cluj-Napoca, Transylvania, Romania, comes from one of the Romanian words for shepherd. We're told that it takes its name from the story of a shepherd who once led his flock of 200 sheep into the forest. None ever returned. None ever were found. There's also the legend of the young girl who one day wandered into the forest, got lost, in time was presumed dead. But years later, she reemerged, having no recollection of what had happened to her and not having aged a day. It was in 1968 that Hoia Baciu drew worldwide attention from the report of the UFO sighting. Since then, folks interested in the paranormal have been coming to the forest and returning with accounts of alien sightings and theories of the forest being an interdimensional portal or some other mystical phenomenon. Many state that electronics malfunctioned at a much more annoying rate than usual. It's been called the Bermuda Triangle of Romania. Indeed, there are locals who will not enter the forest, afraid they'll never come out. Here there are several strange formations of trees that twist and bend, yet are surrounded by trees that do not, without conclusive explanations as to why, even though botanists have tried. And while many people come to Hoia Baciu and claim to have experienced good vibes in the forest, there is a long-standing tradition of vibes to avoid, like the strigoi, Romanian vampires. There was even one muttering of werewolves, the bircolaki. But most of the conversation of what haunts the forests here and throughout Romania focused on the Iele, nymphs, naiads or dryads, if you will, that love to dance in odd numbers and in circles. They are particularly active during the summer solstice and Eastertide leading up to the Feast of Pentecost. In fact, on that night, no one should dare sleep outside. If the Iele find you doing so, you will be punished severely. If the Iele find that people are not respecting these times of year, they may bring storms and hail and floods. People's homes may catch fire. And according to legend, the ground where they dance in the middle stays barren or scorched. Animals for years won't cross it. Vegetation will not encroach it. And any human who finds himself or herself transgressing the boundary just may turn out chronically ill for the rest of his or her life, or worse. This is one explanation for the large clearing in Hoia-Baciu, a popular spot for visitors. It's been there for centuries, but the forest that surrounds it does not encroach upon it. We all understand. We do not go into the forest at night without taking his eyes away from his chores. Sandro said to his mother, "There's nothing in the dark that is not there in the light." She folded her arms across her chest. Then everything in the dark is also in the light. No need then to go at night, yes? Sandro dropped his hammer and looked into his mother's face. "I'm going because I have something to prove." "Only fools need to prove," she said as he picked up his hammer and continued with his banging. "Wise men need prove nothing." "Then how do we know that they are wise?" he asked. "Because they never set out to prove it," she said. Of course, the popularity of the spot would seem to challenge the legends of danger. However, some believe the increasing presence of humans in Hoia-Baciu has caused the forest entities to draw back, the power of the forest to wane. I suppose one could compare it to the normal human encroachment into wilder areas. Yes, the wildlife does retreat, but not completely, not totally. In the most populated areas, it is still possible to be struck by a viper. They are called, among other things, the captivating ladies, the beautiful ones, the powerful ones, the wise ones, queens of the air, daughters of the field. Folklorists and linguists speculate over the origin of the word Iele, but to the locals in their language it is simply the old form of the third-person feminine plural. It means them. But who or what are the Iele? Some say they are the souls of cursed women who cannot enter heaven. Others speculate that the original Iele were the 3 daughters of Alexander the Great who drank water that had been bewitched. Some believe they are Dacian high priestesses. The Dacians were the ancient inhabitants of Romania, yet others will say they are the offspring of an incestuous relationship between the sun god and the moon goddess. The Iele do have names, but only the living strigoi, witches, who one day become dead strigoi, vampires, know what they are called. On this, everyone agrees. The Iele are incredibly beautiful female spirits who do not like to be watched. So if you come across them some evening frolicking in the forest and you dare to stare, don't you dare get caught. Men who have raised their ire have found themselves mute, mutilated, or turned mad, or worse. We were told the story of a man from the village who got lost in the woods. Eventually, the people found him wandering aimlessly. He had gouged out his own eyes with his fingers, saying how he had seen something so beautiful that he could never again look upon anything else. The villagers determined that he had encountered the Iele. And while the Iele seemed to be particularly fond of seducing young men by inviting them to dance with them to their detriment, They are also drawn to young women who are dejected over lost or unrequited love. One story tells about how such a young lady one evening was working out in the yard with her parents when the Iele appeared and began to call her by name. Knowing she dare not answer the call with her parents, she rushed into the house, slammed the door, and bolted it shut. Huddling together, within moments they hear the footsteps on the roof of the dancing Iele, singing their beautifully dreadful song, calling the maiden by name. Only through their prayers and persistence did the Iele eventually leave these people alone. So if you must enter the woods where the Iele are known to dance and frolic, there are ways you can protect yourself. Certain plants such as mugwort, absinthe, even garlic might work. Or one could try mounting the skull of a horse on a pole and display it in front of one's house. But the best way to stave off the Iele is to perform a ritual dance known as the Kalushadi. Are the Iele evil creatures? There are plenty in Romania who will say, yes, they are bad fairies. But not everyone agrees. One source says that they're not evil, it's just that everything they touch becomes dangerous. Another says that they are simply mischievous and they only seek revenge when provoked. And what provokes the Iele? As we've said, they don't like to be watched. They don't like to be sought out. They seduce young men for sport, not intimacy. One dare not sleep under a tree they claim as their property, or drink or swim in their water. As noted already, they will permanently maim those who displease them, and some say they will even steal children. They revel in their own beauty, but are ready to curse anyone else who might adore them. They're protectors of the forest, yet the ground itself decays under their steps. In Romania, the Iele are both feared and revered. No one wants to cross their paths. Yes, they may have the capacity for leniency. If you happen upon their dance, you can beg for mercy, you can plead how you're a stranger in the area and you had lost your way, or how you're a naive tourist and you did not know you were a trespasser. They may let you go unharmed, or they may ask you to dance with them. If so, it's not a good idea to turn down the offer. Hell hath no fury like spurned Iele. Stories of the Iele have mostly made their mark in the realm of the folk tale, but there are also a few literary references to them. The 17th to 18th century Romanian philosopher, historian, and linguist Dimitri Cantemir discusses the Iele, calling them nymphs of the air. The playwright Camille Petrescu wrote a drama translated into English as The Iele's Play or Dance, in which the Iele serve as metaphor. There is also some contemporary music available, such as that of Oliver Weeks, David Sienta, and Irina Rhymes, as well as from the group Notions. While the world of classical art is overwhelmed by representations of Greek and Germanic nymphs and fairies, An internet search will show plenty of examples of modern art inspired by the Iele. The Romanian poet turned politician Vasile Alexandri wrote a poem about the Iele, who researcher Iulian Boldea refers to as they fairies. You fairies, you marvels of nature, foes of the mortals, masters of the wind, ladies of the earth, flying through the air, gliding on the grass, treading on the waves, go a long way off to the pond, the reeds, and the desert, where priests ring no bell, where maidens dance not. Go with the wind to the end of the world. The Iele have even managed to penetrate the tourist season. Bran Castle in Transylvania has been dubbed the official Dracula's castle by the Romanian government only because of its similarity to the description in the novel, and it happens to be located in Transylvania. There is no connection with Vlad the Impaler, in spite of the castle's decor. Yet, along with the focus here on ghosts and vampires, as well as the history of Bran Castle itself, homage is made to the Iele, too, in this rather neat holographic representation. Oh, yes, about the campout. Pretty uneventful. We were picked up the next morning. I guess they were glad to see we were still there, and asked, did you have any strange experiences that you recall during the night? And the answer was no. We did have more footage of Hoia Baciu, but unfortunately our electronics malfunctioned at a much more annoying rate than usual. So I was back to the pension to grab something to eat. The cornmeal mush of Romania called mamaliga is pretty good. It's what Jonathan Harker ate in the novel Dracula. So Zandru sat at the table, scraping and poking his near-finished bowl of mamaliga, wondering how long he could put off his uncle if he were to eat the rest of it a grain at a time. When it came to him, like the breaking in of a dream one had forgotten upon waking. But he instinctively knew this was no dream. While asleep last night in the forest, in his self-induced trance, something or someone watched him from behind and slightly above his head. For how long? He did not know. Was it still there? If he returned to the forest and stayed awake, would he see it for himself? You're not supposed to do that, Mother would say. We all understand not to do that and why. But why? Really? Sandru thought. Because of other people's stories? Perhaps it is time for him to start his own stories. If you'd like to take an informed tour of Hoia Baciu yourself, we can point you in the right direction in the closing credits. We're also going to give you a heads up on what to expect in the next episode of Trailing Monsters.